Hello and welcome to our time machine. Well, it's not a real time machine, but we're going to take your imagination on a wild ride today. Picture the scene. It's the 1st century AD. You're standing in a bustling Roman camp. There's the smell of sweat and oil in the air, and you've got a hefty gladius swinging at your side. Now, I'll be honest with you. Life as a Roman legionnaire wasn't exactly a walk in the park. It was more like a long, grueling march in heavy armor with the occasional life-or-death battle thrown in for good measure. So, grab your helmet and your shield and maybe a snack, because we're about to march 2,000 years back in time. Let's go experience a day in the life of a Roman legionnaire. Alright, fellow time travelers, let's kick off our day as a Roman legionnaire. And now, don't hit the snooze button, because there's no such luxury in a Roman military camp. But the day begins at the crack of dawn, with a bugle call loud enough to wake the dead. And trust me, you'd want to get up swiftly, unless you fancy a visit from our grumpy friend, Centurion Maximus Grumpus. First order of the day, a morning drills. Yep, no time for a leisurely cup of coffee here. You'd be put through rigorous physical training to keep you in shape and ready for battle. This could involve everything from running and jumping to swimming and carrying heavy loads. A regular ancient boot camp, if you will. And if you're thinking, well, that's not too bad. I go to the gym every day, remember, you'd be doing all this wearing a hefty suit of armor. So, you might want to reconsider your workout routine. Besides the physical drills, you'd also spend a good chunk of your day performing various duties around the camp. This could include anything from building fortifications, maintaining equipment, or even peeling potatoes for dinner. Yes, even Roman soldiers couldn't escape kitchen duty. Now, you may be thinking, all this work and no play. That sounds dull. Well, don't worry. The Romans weren't all work and no fun. And they had their downtime, too, during which they could relax, play games, or even write letters home. But let's not forget the most important part of a legionnaire's life: their duty to Rome. A Roman soldier was expected to serve for 25 years, during which they had to be ready to fight at a moment's notice. They were trained to be disciplined, obedient, and loyal. If you've ever had a hard time following your New Year's resolutions, just think about the commitment and discipline it took to be a Roman legionnaire. And here's a little fun fact for you. Did you know that the Roman army was so well organized that they even had their own version of a medical corps? They were called the Medici, and they were responsible for taking care of injured soldiers. So, if you got a bit too enthusiastic during your morning drills and pulled a muscle, there'd be someone to patch you up. First off, let's talk about your main weapon, the gladius. This short sword was designed for close combat, perfect for stabbing the enemy when they got too close for comfort. But don't think you'll be swinging it around like a swashbuckler. The Roman fighting style was all about discipline and formation, not individual glory. So no trying to show off your fancy swordplay, okay? Next up, we've got the pilum, a type of javelin. This bad boy was designed to penetrate the enemy's shield and render it useless, thanks to its thin, bendable iron shank. One good throw, and your enemy would be left defenseless. But remember, it's a one-time use thing. Once you've thrown it, you better hope you've done some damage, cause you're not getting it back. Now, onto the shield or scutum. This wasn't just a piece of defensive equipment. It was a crucial part of the Roman army's battle tactics. The legionnaires would lock their shields together to form a sort of human tank, known as the testudo or tortoise formation. So, if you're ever caught in a hailstorm without an umbrella, you'll know what to do. Speaking of tactics, the Roman army was known for its discipline and strategic prowess. They didn't just charge blindly into battle. They had a game plan. They used various formations depending on the situation, each designed to maximize their strengths and exploit the enemy's weaknesses. And here's a fun fact. The Romans were one of the first armies to use a type of military standard called the aquila or eagle. Each legion had its own eagle, which was carried into battle by a special officer known as the aquilifer. Losing this eagle was considered a major disgrace. So, if you ever find yourself in charge of the eagle, don't lose it. Now that we've had a taste of the hard life of a Roman legionnaire, let's move on to something a bit more palatable to food. Yes, the Roman Empire was known for its grand feasts and exotic dishes, but I'm afraid the average legionnaire's menu was a bit more, let's say, humble. Your main meal of the day would likely consist of grain, either in the form of bread or a kind of porridge called pulse. It doesn't sound too exciting, right? But hey, it's high in fiber. You might also get some vegetables, cheese, or maybe even a bit of meat if you're lucky. And to wash it all down, you'd have a nice cup of vinegar-water. Yes, you heard that right. But the Romans believed it helped quench thirst better than plain water. Now, let's talk leisure time. You might think that after a day of hard training and duties, a Roman soldier would just want to hit the sack. But the Romans knew the importance of work-life balance, even in the army. The soldiers would often play games like dice or knucklebones, which was kind of like ancient jacks. In fact, gambling was so popular that it had to be banned, except during the Saturnalia festival. So, if you're a fan of poker nights, you would have fit right in. Here's a fun fact. Did you know that the Roman army had its own fast food restaurants? They were called thermopolia, and soldiers could grab a quick meal there if they didn't feel like cooking. Think of it as the Roman version of a drive-thru, but with more togas and less fries. Alright, brace yourselves, fellow time travelers, because we're heading into the heart of a Roman battle. Imagine this. You're lined up in formation with your fellow legionnaires, your heart pounding in your chest, your gladius gripped tight in your hand. Before you, a horde of Gauls is charging, their war cries echoing across the battlefield. You take a deep breath and prepare yourself. This is what you've trained for. First things first, you unleash your pilum, the javelin designed to disrupt the enemy lines. You watch as it sails through the air and hits an enemy shield, bending on impact and making the shield useless. One less problem to worry about. Then the enemy is upon you. You tighten your grip on your gladius and stand firm. But the Roman fighting style isn't about flashy, individual heroics. It's about discipline, about holding the line and working as a unit. You're not just a lone wolf. You're part of a well-oiled machine called the Roman Legion. The enemy clashes against your shield wall like a wave against rocks. But you hold firm, using your gladius to repel any attacker that gets too close. You're not just fighting for yourself. You're fighting for the man next to you, for Rome, and for the honor of your legion. And here's a fun fact for you. The Romans had a unique way of keeping their soldiers fresh during a battle. But the front line would fight for a while, then rotate to the back to rest while the next line took over. Finally, after what seems like an eternity, the battle is over. You're exhausted, your muscles are screaming, but you're alive. You've held the line, repelled the enemy, and lived to tell the tale. Well, folks, we made it through a day in the life of a Roman legionnaire. And let me tell you, it's been one heck of a ride. Here's a fun fact to wrap things up. Did you know that after their 25 years of service, Roman soldiers were often granted a plot of land to retire on? So, after all the blood, sweat, and tears, you'd at least have a nice little farm to relax on. Not a bad retirement plan, if you ask me. Now, if you've enjoyed this journey back in time, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps us reach more people and share these incredible experiences. And if you want to join us on future adventures, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.